Okay. This time we're closing the executive session. No vote was conducted nor monies appropriated.
Okay. After our executive session, it's my understanding that the City Council President would like to make a motion to consolidate items 1 and 3 into a block vote and vote on same in the affirmative.
Correct. Yeah.
I do? Yes. Okay. I'll repeat it. I'm sorry. The City Council President would like to make a motion to consolidate items 1, 2, and 3 and block vote on all 3 of them in the affirmative.
Correct.
You so move?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Block voting of items 1 through 3. Councilmember Posterly.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Okay. Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a lease agreement to rent space on city-owned
Oh,
property.
wait. I'm sorry. We voted on the motion to block vote.
Right. but
Now
he-
we have to, but you said,
That's why
well,
he put
actually,
that- that's why he said it that way, but if
So-
you want to vote it separately, that's fine.
so
Okay.
Rich said that, he actually said in the motion was that we were all block voting, and we were block voting all in the affirmative.
No, absolutely not. It was block voting.
So are you rescinding your vote on the
Absolutely.
motion?
That was
Hold on.
not, it was
There
a
wa-
motion to block vote.
In the Mr. Barrios said in the affirmative, so apparently there was we're clarifying it now, and you are rescinding your vote.
Yes.
Okay,
I voted to block vote,
not the affirmative.
not in the affirmative.
Very well,
Okay.
understood.
Do you,
So now we vote on the 3 items.
So now, would you like to restate the motion for me, please?
All right, so the motion on the floor was to consolidate items 1, 2, and 3 into a block vote and vote in the affirmative on the same. That's what I understood it to be.
Yes, and you said, that's what
That's
you
what I
said, it
said.
was correctly. However, there was a misunderstanding
Right.
by the
Okay.
council member,
But-
so now,
Can we have a motion to block vote and then a motion on the 3 items? Vote on the 3 items. That's
That's
the way.
not a block
that's
vote.
the way-
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
that's a
he's
block
saying
vote.
is, he was interpreting that the vote was to merge the 3 into a single vote, and then we would have the vote on the 3.
yes, that's called a block vote.
Yes.
Okay, so-
It's 2 different votes.
Right.
The understanding, Mr. Lester, the understanding is your assumption was we were making the motion for the block vote.
Correct.
Yes,
Once that passes, we will all conduct one round of voting for all 3 items.
correct.
Correct.
Okay.
That was his interpretation.
Understood.
Right, so now,
Does everyone agree with that assessment? Because what I said was something different, so I don't want the city council to be confused about what's happening now. So
we're not confused, but so the thing is, are you withdrawing the motion, or can you withdraw it, or how
Yes.
does that
already
work?
passed, so,
It already passed.
yeah, the motion already passed.
Okay. So the motion actually already passed, but you can rescind, I thought I read in the charter that you can still rescind your vote.
Yes, my understanding was it was to take this as a block vote.
No, yes, but there was a second component that
Okay.
Mr. Barrow said,
Well,
so
there
the
shouldn't have
thing,
been a second component.
Yeah, there
because
was-
A block vote is to take it as a block vote, and then you vote on it.
that was your interpretation.
Okay.
Okay, so the thing is that he explicitly said that there was to block vote and vote in the affirmative. There was a misunderstanding. So
Yes.
now that we've all recognized that and clarified it,
Yes.
the motion has actually passed. And as a block vote, 4-1.
Yes.
Okay, so
So
then we
I-
would be on to the next agenda item.
Okay.
So because you rescind, are you?
No,
are you-
I rescinded the vote.
Okay, I
Because,
just want to
you
make
know,
sure
but
that, yes, I understand.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make absolutely sure that your intent at this point is to rescind your vote.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I would not vote yes on
I
this.
completely understand, Roy, completely understand. So Dave and Rich, are you comfortable with everything?
yes.
Thank you.
Where was I? Okay. Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a lease agreement to rent space on city-owned property to improve wireless service in the city.
Good afternoon again. As the resolution indicates, Dish Wireless had proposed a site lease agreement for the installation of telecommunications equipment on the roof of City Hall, relatively small footprint. The idea being the term of said lease would be a period of 60 months at a monthly rental fee of $3,500 per year with annual increases of 3% each year. And there is an auto-renewal provision for 2 additional terms of 60 months each. The rationale behind that is that the investment in the actual infrastructure to keep that property up was why they asked for that amount of, that exact term, excuse me.
Okay. Do we have any, I know there were questions in the grid on this. Do we have any additional questions from the council at this time? Mr. Lester?
Yes, I had asked, what wireless service is this going to improve? Because I tried to go on Dish Network and try to find out who they actually service. I understand that they would be,
Right.
they're moving into what's called 12G or something like that.
Some
Well,
version of
energy.
G at this point.
Yeah.
So my understanding, based on my discussions with the Dish representatives and my office's discussions, is that there were some moves made on the federal level of government with regard to big telecommunications players, and basically Dish is forming a new wireless service as a result of a federal court.
So it wouldn't be Verizon or...
It'd be its own service.
Right. So when we say to improve wireless service in the city, it wouldn't be improving wireless service. They haven't even have a wireless service.
It would actually be creating a new telecommunication service, yes.
Which they haven't even started yet.
Right,
so
they
it's
started
not
it, they just haven't started it here.
All right, I just didn't understand to improve the wireless service because it's not improving any wireless service right now.
Understood.
I understand it's a good thing for the city because we're making money.
Right.
But
But, Mr. Barrios, so say in the instance of, remember Sandy, when none of us could get cell service and we were walking around and it was crazy, could it be something in the future, God forbid, that could enhance something like that, even though like it's a personal carrier issue? Or like, is it anything in that regard too?
I'm not sure I understand the question. In terms of, so if a storm came, what would be the specific question?
If it would, this service, so it would enhance wireless service, could that potentially help in that scenario with, no matter the carrier? I
There's
guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables with that. I mean, with a superstorm, I think a lot of things would be knocked out.
Yeah.
The idea being that, you would hope that cell service would go, but we all kind of live through Sandy, and it's tough. So
Yeah.
depending on the winds, depending on a lot of different factors, telecommunications devices can be destroyed. We can lose reception for quite a bit of time.
and if there's no electricity, there's no wireless.
There's no-
That's right.
So it's not something that would, okay.
Mr. Bendo?
So the contract's going to allow for 2 5-year auto renewals without council approval. Why are we doing that?
He mentioned, Mr. Bendo, I know you mentioned something about.
Right, so part of the rationale, which I said in the initial presentation, the reason that Dish Wireless requested that as part of its investment scheme to get an ROI on it. If you'd like a little further information, my recommendation is, since it pertains to to negotiations, we should probably go in executive session on it. It is it's passive income with a guaranteed escalator, and it's 3% every year for the entire duration. We are reimbursed for with regard to access to the premises. They have, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. If they need to access it in an emergency, they have to coordinate with Mr. Canner and building. And if we expend any resources in supporting that type of work, they have to reimburse us.
Was there a termination clause is there a termination clause in the agreement?
For cause, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
That answers my question. Thank you.
sure. Okay. Any other questions from the council? Any questions from the public on this item? Seeing none?
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing procedures for member video conferencing pursuant to Public Officers Law 103A.
Good evening again. At a previous council meeting, we passed a local law amending or adopting charter changes in accordance with Public Officers Law, the Open Meetings Law. This particular resolution just authorizes procedures and embodies procedures for all of the city's public bodies subject to the Open Meetings Law. I talked about it a bit before, so previously you could have remote meetings under the governor's order during an emergency, completely remote with no in-person requirement. They have another one called extraordinary circumstances where a quorum of the body will be physically present in one location and one or two of the body members may not be able to attend because of extraordinary circumstances. This allows them to do that, and this basically sets forth the procedures by which those meetings are held and requested.
Okay, so are you saying basically we're just brings us into compliance with state law?
Right, it basically gives us the procedures for compliance to comply with the law.
Thank you. Any questions from the council on this item? Mr. Lester?
Yes, Rich, on number 7, I was a little confused on that. It says where the public can view and/or participate in such meeting.
It's because of the extraordinary circumstances within the...
But the public can participate.
Right, so the rule would be, right, if we're using an extraordinary circumstance meeting and we so notice it,
Yes.
the public in that instance will be able or must be able to participate in any form. So if they wish to be here in person, they can be here in person.
Which
if they want to participate remotely, they should be able to do so and be able to engage in that public comment period that we have in our meetings. I see your point. I think perhaps a small amendment to that should be made to say where the public can view and participate.
And participate. But how do you participate if you can't view?
Well, the idea, this is the key distinction here. The law's a little tricky in the sense that for the members of the public, they should be able to at least hear it or see the feed.
They don't, yeah.
What applies to the members of the public body specifically is that you all, when you opt for this, you have to be seen and heard. You can't shut your screen off. That same rationale doesn't apply to the public.
Right. So do we in fact need a motion?
We might not. I don't think we do.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
That's true as well, because not all public bodies actually require public participation, right? So
This is not just for
the city council
this
itself
is
has,
for all
this is for
things.
every public body we have. So there aren't necessarily public comment portions of every single body of the city of Long Beach,
City government.
but for the city council specifically, you do have that. So if it is available, you do offer it.
Correct.
Okay. Is that satisfactory, Mr. Lester?
Yes,
Okay,
because it is any public body.
great. Any other questions from the council? Any questions from the public on this item? Seeing none?
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of computers and printers for the city's police patrol vehicles from the sole source provider.
Thank you. Commissioner Walsh?
Good evening. So this is the approval for the actual purchase of the computers and network equipment that goes inside of our patrol vehicles. It is, the reason it is sole source is because the only person who can provide this is the current manufacturer of our computers and the software that runs on them. So it's a sole source because it has to match.
One sec. Do we need to go into executive session?
No.
Thank you. Continue, Commissioner Walsh.
So it's basically completing the upgrade and improve of the 7 Department patrol vehicles that haven't been done yet. So this is a completion of that portion of the project.
Thank you. Any questions from the council at this time?
Commissioner, just so I'm clear, the reason it's sole source is because it has to follow the other equipment we already have in there.
100%.
Yeah.
It can only be these computers and it can only be on this network. Yes.
Right.
That's the only reason it's sole source.
Okay.
These were bid originally when we chose this particular vendor way back when. So it's consistent with the equipment that we have.
Any questions from the public on this item? Seeing none?
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase an interoperable video management and integrated surveillance system through New York State Office of General Services contracts for various locations throughout the city.
Me again. So this particular project is the recreation center, the gazebo, and the senior center and the ice arena are getting closed-circuit television cameras installed, as well as access controls on certain critical areas within that within that building and facility. Basically, there'll be fob access controls, so you'll have a point of access control where you'll have auditing ability of who goes in and who goes out of certain areas, especially that's going to be put in places where money and tickets and things like that are being stored or sold. It's also going to give us security cameras and footage around the recreation center right now. Right now it is, there's no operable cameras at this time. All of this will feed back into the same system that the beach cameras and the City Hall complex and the Long Island Railroad garage will be feeding into down in police headquarters, and will be viewable where permissions are granted.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for your extensive explanations on these items during the week.
No worries.
Do we have any questions from the council? Any questions from the public? Seeing none?
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase an interoperable video management system and integrated surveillance system from New York State, through New York State Office of General Services contracts for the bus station and Long Island Railroad parking facility.
So these are the 27 cameras that will be installed at various locations throughout the Long Island Railroad parking garage. They will replace all cameras that are currently there that are either not working, but certainly not viewable from this building. In order to view them, you actually have to go to a closet over there and deal with it. It'll all be fed back into the same system that I just spoke about. These monies are all coming out of capital project monies that were designed as Long Island Railroad garage upgrade.
Any questions from the council? Any questions from the public? Ms. Hession?
Long Beach. How come the Long Island Railroad doesn't chip in?
So the parking garage is owned and operated by the city of Long Beach. They built it, we buy it and maintain it.
Too bad. I'm glad to see about all these cameras coming in for safety, and also it makes me think, anything happened with that $14,000?
So they wouldn't know, I would. If you do know, I'd like to know. Actually, that investigation has been turned over to the district attorney's office. It's no longer being investigated by us. We're cooperating with them, and it's a methodical step walk through that. So
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions from the public on this item? Seeing none?
Item 10 is a resolution authorizing the continued retention of the Bondado Group as independent auditors for fiscal years ending June 30th, 2022, 23, and 24.
Hi, good evening. This is for this item is for the approval of the CPA firm that does our annual audits. They provide audits on financial statements, single audit report, which is compliance with the federal requirements for the federal grants. They provide the Department of Transportation audit and report, New York State single audit, and also LDC report. We had selected that firm 3 years ago as a result of the request for proposal. We had several firms propose, and Benedia was determined to be the most qualified by the selection committee. We had a 3-year contract with them, and the council had approved it without an extension. So now they had proposed for the other 3 years with the minimal increases. very incremental from year to year. And one of the reasons they were selected is really the most important one was their extremely high reputation and definitely very reasonable pricing.
Okay, I just want to add to it that one of the components of this audit was for the nonprofit arm of the city. The reason it was included in that is because we now have an organization called Millennium that writes grants for us. Now Millennium can write grants for the nonprofit arm of the city so that the city can get additional monies where we would not be able to apply for them at any other time because that nonprofit would not exist. I had asked that we allow Millennium to start applying for grants for the city under that arm, and if we do not get any money in this fiscal year, then we can dissolve it, and then we won't have to pay for any audit fees in the future. But any monies that come in would be a benefit to the city under this nonprofit arm.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions from the council? Mr. Bendo?
Yeah, so regarding the local development corporation, they're supposed to be financially independent from the city. So why would we pay for we've been paying their legal bills for some years now. And so why are we picking up the tab if they're supposed to be a financially independent entity?
Well, in the past, I don't believe any grants were applied. That's why I just mentioned that the goal is to have Millennium start applying for grants to make them self-sustaining. If we do not get any money from any of the grants that are applied for, then I would suggest then closing out the nonprofit. But there are grants out there that would benefit the city and the residents of the city, but the city itself cannot apply for them. It's only the nonprofit
No, I
arm.
understand that, but what I'm saying is we're potentially voting to pay for audits for an entity that has no revenue right now.
So maybe
So-
Wait, no, but what I stated what I commented, it said that in this year, if no monies come in, it would be recommended to close it. And then there, for the next 2 years, you would not be paying for an audit. You would only be paying for an audit for the 1 year. If no monies come into the city under the nonprofit, then I would recommend closing it. If in fact that at this point you don't want to pay, then we can go ahead and close it now.
But we would
if I
still-
can add to it, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So LDC's fiscal year is not the same as the city's fiscal year. The fiscal year of the LDC is December 31st. So we are at a minimum to have a report for this fiscal year of the city that ended June 30th, 2022. We have to have that audit done because that had already happened and that's in the past.
So when was the last time the LDC met?
June 5th, according to the grid.
Yeah,
And what did they do at that meeting?
I'm not sure. We would have to ask.
Patty?
I didn't even know we still had members.
Yes, in
That's
the
what I'm
grid,
saying.
in the grid, it shows
Who the board members are.
and what positions they hold.
But
Yeah,
I
it's-
thought some of them had resigned a while ago.
No, those are, no,
Just one person resigned. The others stayed on for now.
yeah.
Okay.
So maybe Patty or Ina, do you remember the original purpose for the LBDC, why it was formed?
Yes,
Could-
it was formed for, good evening. It was formed for economic development purposes, and the original intent before I got here was to do projects. It's very similar to the Nassau County IDA. The only exception, it does not, under its state charter, being allowed to do pilots. So what we found is that when a developer wanted to do something in Long Beach and they wanted a pilot, payment in lieu of taxes, they go to the county rather than to the LDC. And the other problem on the other side is if the project is not large enough, say at least 40, 50 units of, say, rental housing, it doesn't pay to go through an LDC or the IDA because of all the paperwork involved. So we're in kind of like an in-between. We're not big enough. We don't have the powers of the county's IDA, but yet again, to do something with us, That has to be a large enough project. And I will say that just at the beginning, after Sandy, because it was formed right after, during Sandy's, before and after Sandy, it was created that year in 2012. There were some grants coming in for about a year related to Superstorm Sandy that could only go through a nonprofit. So at that point, it made sense. Since then, it's just as Donna said, we need to find, and I've talked to them already, as Donna directed, Millennium. I've talked to Millennium about finding nonprofit grants for economic development that we can apply for, and I'm waiting to hear back.
So by a nonprofit, you mean it's an IRS 501c3
Yes.
organization
Yes. Right.
that can only accept that type of grant?
Yes, it's
Yes.
eligible for that, and we are actually back on, thanks to the controller's office. They worked for a year, you know, the IRS. For some reason, we were bumped off, a lot of other groups. We were put back on again, so we're now on what's called the business list for the IRS, so that we come out when a group that has to go through an IRS-approved nonprofit, a 501c3, we are back on that list. Karen understands it.
Yes.
So we're certified.
So you are, and Ina, you are saying that since their fiscal year is December 31st, we would know by that point in time.
So
whether-
basically, if we are within, to stay within the parameters of this proposal from the auditors, they are proposing to audit our financial statements for the June 30th of 22, 23, and 24. So by December 31st of 2023, next year, we have to either dissolve it or continue it, because if they're going to go into January 1st of 2024, that's going to be our fiscal year 2025. I don't know if that makes sense,
Okay,
but yeah.
I'm confused. This is an audit just of the LDC, or?
No,
New
no.
York- So
Oh.
how much of this actually is
I have their
ascribed to the
technical
LDC?
proposal, and they have their
It
cost
was in our
proposal.
I
documentation
think,
that
I
we
think it
received,
was, I think it was
$9,000.
$8,000 for the IDC audit.
I
I'm going
thought-
from memory.
So,
Yes,
but what-
that's
when we're
correct.
talking about disbanding it,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't change our contract.
It would, they're saying, Donna's saying it would. So the thing is that they listed a price for the next 3 audits if the organization, the separate entity has to have a separate audit. And Benadio is saying that they will do that for us because it has to be done regardless.
Right,
But we may decide to dissolve it over the course of our agreement with Benadio, at which time they will not perform the audit and we will not pay for it in future years.
Right.
But if they are getting grant money in, why would we continue to pay for their audits for 24 and 25?
You
But
You
that's what
wouldn't.
the resolution says.
Yes, that's exactly it. And also, this year, I mean, they have had no money for how many years now?
No one's ever applied for a grant in a
Yeah,
long time.
but we've
Since
talked
Sandy.
about disbanding them for how many years?
I'm not sure.
John, at least 4. At
When
least
you-
4. So now we're going to pay for
Six.
another audit.
6,
for-
7 years.
What?
6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Although during this year, right, or last year, they received the $6,000 grant. So actually, there was a small grant.
Didn't we
in
pay $25,000 for legal fees last year?
The year before, I think.
So we got a $6,000 grant.
And so I just want to make sure everyone's clear is that regardless of if we decide to dissolve, the point at which we may decide to dissolve the organization, somebody still has to pay for it to be audited up to that point in
But
time.
that would be up till the end of December 2022. Not,
Right,
and Ina's
right.
talking about December 2023.
No, she said if you go January 1,
Right.
that's December of
So-
22, that's the next fiscal year.
Right,
yes.
so if we're going to dissolve, we would have to do it before December 31st, 2022.
Right.
To save us money. And what legal fees are we going to accrue this year for them?
You may have to pay legal fees in order to dissolve a 501c3.
That's not, Rich,
I'm
you
not
can't
sure.
do that?
You have to, that's part of the process.
Right, but Rich, that's why we have.
Well, we can use the office and see what we can actually accomplish internally in terms of dissolving a corporation. There's a lot of paperwork to file. It's kind of a lengthy process overall.
With fees.
Yeah,
So-
these specifically. might be a brief consultation, but aside from paperwork, it could be done.
Yeah.
But we might incur some legal fees for sure.
It's just that this is a corporation that has cost us money year after year after year.
Yeah.
And,
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Yeah.
That it has cost you money, but you never use it to your advantage.
So if Millennium applies, Millennium applies for grants on behalf of the LDC and they get them, the money goes to the LDC, which is a 501c3, correct? Okay, so the money doesn't go to the city, the money goes to the LDC.
It's a pass-through, and then the LDC has the right to pass it through to the city
For
as a
economic.
pass-through entity. Yeah.
For economic development.
What would be helpful, maybe, is to see the bylaws and the certificate of incorporation for that, just because this, and then this way we could really start to understand the organization, because we have to make sure the mission is what it says in the, on the Form 990. Thank you. Does that help clarify?
I think,
I-
can I just take a crack at it, Councilman Bendo? I think your question is, right, the narrative has been that the LDC has been underutilized, it hasn't made money for however long. If at some point, right, it's cost us money.
Yeah.
If at some point the LDC becomes of utility and it's no longer reliant upon us to front that money, will they pay for their own audits? Right?
Ideally, they would.
But this resolution has us paying for their audits through 2025.
And perhaps
But
the
we just were
solution...
told that they're applying for them.
Right, but
See, here's my issue, is let's say they do get grants and that we don't dissolve them. We're still paying for their audits in 24 and 25.
I think the solution to that is, since they function as a pass-through, part of their cost of operation would be allowed under their status as a nonprofit. So when they do reach that point of solvency or flush with money, if that happens, then they can front the money to us to pay for those.
Right.
They can, but they don't have to, because they're a separate entity.
Actually,
No, they will be a pass-through because it's a city nonprofit organization. So the money would then transfer, it's a pass-through that will go from there
But
to us.
see, that's the gray area. Every time something with the LDC comes up, we get a different story. It's part of the city, it's not part of the city, depending what the story needs to be at the moment.
Well,
In the
no.
past, we've been told they're not part of the city, they're a separate entity, but we had to bail them out financially because they were broke. You know,
for the
I'm not sure-
financial
wait,
statements,
I'm not sure what the stories were in the past. Many governments have a nonprofit arm that is part of the government. And so they use the money as a pass-through to help with their economic development projects. And so if LDC receives money, they have to pay their cost. Even if the city pays it, they have to reimburse it. That's what the pass-through is. I'm not sure what the stories have been in the past. So I guess really what it comes down to is that we know that where we are right now, if you all do want it to be dissolved, we can dissolve it.
To President McGinnis's point, once we see the bylaws and things, I think that would help me to just see the whole lay of the land with that.
so
and
control.
if we could, I'm sorry, if we could also see what it's cost us over these last few...
Controller Resnick, did you have some points that you wanted to make?
yes. I wanted to address question that Councilman Banda had. So let's say if we are going to have $100,000 grant that will go through the LDC, then it would be cost beneficial, right? We would pick out the cost of the audit because they don't have any other sources of income, nor would they have, right? Any other sources of revenue other than the grants. So you can either look at it as if they are going to procure grants for the city and give us whatever they can, net of their professional expenses for the year, or they can give us the gross amount of the grant or grants, and we would pay for their professional expenses such as audit and legal fees. But in the context of this resolution, we are bound as the city to have LDC audited for their fiscal year ended December 31st, 2021, ending December 31st, 2022. So it's at least 2 years out of these three. And then we can decide by the end of this year, by December 31st, what do we want to do for the 2023. If for the LDC's fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023, which will have to be incorporated into the city's financial statement for June 30th, 2024. So we're already, for 2 years, whether they're going to bring grants or not going to bring grants, we're stuck.
We're on the hook.
And I don't know how long it takes to dissolve an LDC, but I probably assume that it doesn't matter what we decide by December 31st. It's not going to get dissolved by December 31st. So it's going to go into 2023 calendar, and we're stuck with this 3 years for LDC.
It can be dissolved.
Yeah,
So why wouldn't we do a separate resolution just for the LDC for Bonadillo for 1 year?
Because we at least need 2. Yeah.
Because December 31st, 2021, and December 31st, 2022.
Ina, is the LDC a part of our consolidated financials?
Yeah, they're a discretely presented component unit of the city. City's financial statements cannot be issued without that audit.
So basically, you're saying unequivocally that the LBDC is part of the city.
Yes.
Thank you. Any further questions from the council?
I did check with the state about if we wanted to dissolve the LDC about a year ago, and they said it takes approximately a year to do so. And one of the reasons we kept the LDC was it had been sued in the iStar litigation,
right.
which kept us for that amount of time.
I remember that now. Any questions from the public on this item? Ms. Hession? Hey, we're doing good. It's still not 9 o'clock yet.
Eileen Hession, I want to thank you, John, for asking this question. This is a lot of money, and if we've been dealing with them for 8 years, we've paid this company almost $1 million. And if they got us, the only grant I heard was a $6,000 grant. It doesn't seem like good money to me. That's
What's
all.
the $1 million?
It's only cost $8,000 to $10,000 a year for it. Not only.
What's
Let me clarify that.
$125,000?
I'm sorry?
I misread it. There's $125,000.
That's right, because there's the entity of the entire city of which the LBDC is a part. So there's a separate audit for that because it has a separate
Okay.
EIN
I-
number.
I don't
know
understand
if
this.
they
The
have-
That much, I
LDC
guess, but-
audit portion of that is only $8,000.
Okay.
and
So that's what it costs for their audit.
per
The
year.
rest is the city's.
So I guess we're addressing the issue that finally needs to be addressed. We could not address it until after iStar, which was 2 years ago, I believe, that we voted on it. We had to keep it open. So this was probably the first time that we could really consider moving forward on this item. What?
Is there a time constraint on this, Ina? Is there a time constraint on this?
What do you mean
Is
by
there-
time
Do you
constraint?
need to have this voted on this evening, or, the building's going to come?
I don't think there is a specific time constraint. I mean, we do need to start the process, making scheduling of the field work with the auditors. I don't think that postponing it by a couple of weeks is going to be critical. So
If we waited to the
the
next meeting
facts,
to get some...
this is all retroactive. What I'm trying to say, this is all retroactive. We have no choice. We don't have a time machine to go back and dissolve it, so we wouldn't have to have an audit. We will need to have audits for 2 of the 3 years on this resolution because they already either concluded or are in progress. So the only year in question is year 2024, which will be LDC's fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. As Patty just said, it takes a year to dissolve it. So even if we're going to take a decision to dissolve it today, right? Or not today, at some point, then it's going to take through maybe August of 2023 to dissolve it. So they will need to have an audit for fiscal year December 31st, 2023, and therefore it will not change anything.
Right, but the way the resolution is written, it has the LDC fiscal years also ending June 30th. Because it says, the City of Long Beach and its component unit, Long Beach Local Development Corporation, for fiscal year audits ending June 30th, 22, 23, and 24.
And implicit in that is LBDC through December 31st, 2023.
Yeah, that's how like financial statements would read for the city, fiscal year 31st, because city is the parent in this relationship.
Yeah, their audit that ends in December is included in our June 30th.
That's why it's consolidated financial.
All right, look, I'm going to keep, there's too many questions here, so I'm going to make a motion to table so we can get these answered and do this at the next meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Hold on. Okay, motion to table. Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
No.
Okay, motion carries. On to the next item. Item 11 is a resolution authorizing payment for Thomason Reuters Westlaw Services.
Good evening again. This resolution is just to authorize payment for this fiscal year. This agreement was a 3-year agreement arranged previously, I guess, by my predecessor. This is payment for the first year. There are only 2 years left after this payment for the Westlaw web service that we utilize for our day-to-day research and legal research. It has practical law. It has a lot of drafting assistance, periodicals, lots of great resources for the attorneys in the office. We utilize it every day. And it's just for payment for this year, so I'll be coming back to the council again for next year for the same payment.
Any questions from the council? Mr.
Yeah.
Lester?
Rich, how many users do you have?
It's a three-year rate total.
Users.
How many users?
We only have 4 users on this.
Uh-huh.
And we have some wiggle room to add another one if we had another attorney, but
But are you paying for the 5? Or are you paying?
what they do on occasion, I'm sure you know this, that occasionally your rep will call you and give you new offers with the same rate locked in.
Right.
And there are ways to play with the services offered to add a new user if we need to without getting hit for an increased fee. We're currently in discussions on a couple of things, trying to find ways to save money any way I can in my office. Another good thing about the service we currently have is previously we're budgeted for this, by the way, but what we had previously in our budget was a separate training and expense line, and we utilized other CLE services that weren't necessarily free, so we'd spend a lot more money. CLEs are included in this Westlaw package, so we can get all our CLE biennial credits just while sitting at our desks.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? Mr. Bendo?
Do we have a contract, or this is just a subscription fee each month?
It's a subscription fee with a fee lock in it.
Okay.
Annually.
Annual, yep.
Okay.
No, it is a contract, though.
It is a contract.
It
though.
is a contract,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you're bound. You can't get out.
Okay.
Let's
It's a contract by a different name. Mr. Lester's correct, yep.
Any questions from the public on this item? Seeing none?
Item 12 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year.
That's Commissioner Brand.
Just in continuing efforts to make long-term or long-time, poor-time employees full-time union members, we have this particular position. Myself, along with Director of Operations Tom Canna, who oversees the maintenance department down at the rec, has identified this particular position as an extremely overdue promotion, with openings created from 2 retirees that left last fiscal year. It was determined that the easiest way to move this employee from part-time to full-time would be to take his temporary salary money out of the temporary salary line and move it to our regular salary line.
Any questions on this item from the council?
Just a quick one. Was this a long-term part-time employee?
A long-time part-time
Yeah.
employee, yes. He's been with us for quite some time.
Okay.
11 years. Thank you, John.
Say that. That's not that good. Any questions from the public on this item? Seeing none?
Item 13 is also a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year.
Also, something that was addressed in the city manager's report back in July, we have one Zamboni that services the ice arena here. Timeline suggests that we get this Zamboni in right now for extensive repairs. So we're moving funding from our temporary salary line into our repair line so we can get the equipment out and have it returned for service before the season begins.
Commissioner Brand, I can't remember if the Zamboni has outlived its useful life.
No. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago we replaced the batteries in it, which is, for an electric Zamboni, it's a 36-cell, 1,200-pound battery unit that we replaced. I believe it's 2019 or 2020. With the work that's going to get done here and the battery replacement, we should be fine with this machine easily for another 5 or 6 years.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the council? Mr. Lester?
Yes, I'm just trying to figure out, they're hoping to pay for this with CDBG funding, but that's not coming in until September.
That's correct.
But would that funding, once that comes in, replace this 14,000?
Well, the money coming in, it can be used a number of different ways. I think later on we'll also discuss some additional funding that the city might be in receipt of from other areas that might replace this money as well.
I'm just asking about the
Donna and
CBD.
Monique have both expressed to me, confidence that the county and the CBDG funding would be made available to us in September. And yes, the Zamboni would probably be part of the funds that we would seek to move back in.
Okay.
But there are no guarantees.
No.
Be optimistic.
Okay. Any questions from the public on this item?
Well, I'm sorry, one last thing. Did we already get a quote on this amount?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
No, they're ready to go.
surprises
It's a tough time of year. Everybody's getting their Zambonis worked on now,
Okay.
and everybody needs them back before the start of the hockey season. So, but they're ready for us. Their garage is cleaned out.
Okay.
Okay, next item.
Item 14 is also a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year.
So this resolution is to fund unallocated insurance for the water and sewer funds. I think 2 meetings ago, we had, the council had voted to transfer $50,000 from the celebration, since there were excess funds, to fund unallocated insurance in a general fund. And This is to fund those 2 remaining funds. In the GREET file, I added a tab that shows reconciliation when the budget is prepared in the months leading to the budget completion, February and March. I work with the Office of the Corporation Counsel, who are in turn getting quotes from the brokers, and that's how the budget is developed based on their projections. When they actually go out and buy policies for our year from July 1st through June 30th, they were considerably more expensive than what was projected. We allocate 80-10-10. 80% goes to the general fund and then 10 to sewer and water fund respectively, based on the total revenues of each fund. So now we need a little bit of money in those 2 funds, and in water fund we have contingency account from where we can transfer, and then in sewer maintenance we have due to some attrition we have money in the regular salaries.
Do you, Comptroller Resnick, do you anticipate this will be the conclusion of the moving the funds to square away the unallocated insurance line for the year?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
So we did the $50,000 transfer, and then this money is being moved from different line items. Do you anticipate that that's most likely the conclusion of transfers for that account?
I cannot answer this question because we have a lot of equipment that is we ordered to be funded by the leases. Once those are going to be delivered, they will have to be insured, and that will be added to the policy. Now, I don't think in the general fund we've so far have an excess of about $30,000. That would be a lot of trucks and equipment. But yeah, I don't think that we will need to ask for additional transfers. However, I'm not sure what those additional incremental policies will be.
That's helpful to know, though. Thank you. Any questions from the council? Any questions from the public on this item? Seeing none?
Item 15 is resolution authorizing budget amendment and transfer funds for the 22-23 fiscal year.
Thank you. This is a unique and wonderful project. The Arts Council was awarded a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts, the national organization, the federal agency, to provide a public art walk project at a city park. Due to COVID, it's been delayed, but we've been working on it this year and expect to get it done in the next month or so. The specific proposal is to provide mural and sidewalk art at the city's outdoor bayfront park east of Magnolia Boulevard. The project's been approved by both our city manager and the Commissioner of Parks and Recreation, and we've had terrific support from the Corporation Council and the Director of Operations to figure out how to make this happen in a safe and practical manner. Now, there are three factors to this project which are very exciting. One, of course, is the NEA funding. Second is that we're doing it at the Recreation Center with both a mural and pathway painting. And lastly, we'll be involving for the first time community volunteers, anyone who wants to get involved, to help us paint the paths under the supervision of the artists. We selected an artist, Kara Lynch, through a call to artists public process. We interviewed about 8 candidates, and Kara came out with the best reputation and experience. She also teaches at Adelphi University and has very good recommendations. And I left everyone on the dais, our council people and city manager, copies of the design, and there are copies over by where the agendas are for anyone who wants to see it. And the design she came up with was abstract, but had the idea of being near the water with the wave action and also reflecting the action of sports without going into specific realism. We have about a $14,000 budget for the cost, which we anticipate will cost about $10,000 for the staff, the artist and her assistants, and $4,000 for supplies and materials. And the artist and her assistants will be hired as temporary part-time employees. And the grant is for $10,000 to be matched, so we will ask for the whole $10,000. The rest of our costs will be in kind through the efforts of our wonderful board of the Arts Council and volunteers and others who have been involved. And we expect to have probably $8,000 worth of in-kind. We already have $6,000 worth of in-kind support. I just have to mention, I know it's late, but we have here two members of the Arts Council board, our Vice President, Wendy Goldstein, and our Treasurer, George Trepp. This, I don't know any other group where they have been working as volunteers on the board 3 nights in a row. We have weekly meetings on this project every Sunday night by Zoom. We had the Arts Council board meeting last night, and they've been here all night. So they are amazing people, and they are very dedicated to the city and the Arts Council, and I just want to thank them personally, as well as our president, Ed Kennedy, who puts in a lot of time. He would have been here, but he has a health issue and he had to be quarantined. The schedule, just the last thing, the schedule is that in the next 2 weeks, starting next week, we expect the artist and her assistants to do the work on the mural and prepare for the paths with the assistance of power washing the asphalt paths. We're not going anywhere near the Veterans Memorial or any of the playground equipment. We're very respectful for all the important equipment that's there. And then the first weekend or two in September, the volunteers will be brought in through an open process to encourage them to participate, and under direction from the artist, her assistants, and the board, will be involved in painting. And it'll culminate, which was Wendy's idea, with a celebration with music, and all of you hopefully will be able to join us at the end of September to celebrate the project. So I'm sorry it took so much time, but it really is, for a small project, it's complex, and it's been a major volunteer effort.
Thank you, Patty. Any questions from the council on this item?
Just for the, I mean, looks great. For the paint they're proposing to put on the ground, do they have to use some kind of special paints? Because
yes.
People obviously are walking on it and things like that.
Right. It's painting of paths, asphalt, concrete has become a very popular item, and they make special paint. Costs more, special paint, which Joe would only allow us to use it. So it's not slippery, and it won't be a liability, and it'll be attractive and last as long as possible.
Okay.
Right. Mr. Lester?
Patty, just, I'm trying to get it straight. We get $10,000 at the grant.
Yes.
And then the $4,000 is the in-kind, meaning it's coming from the Art Council? That
The in-kind, we'll overmatch on the in-kind. So when we put the bill into the National Endowment for the Arts, we'll have costs for $10,000, hard costs for staffing and supplies, and also show them probably $6,000 to $8,000 worth of in-kind costs. Now, they're only going to give us $10,000 of that 16, but we'll get the maximum amount. Our hard costs would be about 14, which should leave us with about
how much?
$14,000 for the hard costs. The
Right.
staffing and the supplies. So 14 from 20,000, or 14 from the 10 they give us, excuse me, will leave us with about $6,000. All right, 14, 10.
Four.
I'm sorry. $4,000 that'll come out of the actual budget that is already budgeted with the Arts Council budget.
Thanks.
I just want to thank the Arts Council for this, for getting this grant, and the team, and it's great work. It's a really exciting project. I can't wait to be there for the party, maybe try to paint. Any questions from the public on this item? Okay, seeing none?
Item 16 is a resolution authorizing a budget amendment to the Community Development Fund for the 44th program year.
Very excited. We were able to have Nassau County Community Development approve a new program, and we were able to transfer funds from a line where there was no expenditures, and we created a program called Long Beach Rise. So the transfer came from Special Economic Development, which was a placeholder in the beginning. The new program called Long Beach Rise offer, in response to COVID, loss of job, economic development, and provide some type of workforce development, job training, internships to the community of Long Beach. So we're going to use that funds there, the $30,000, for the internship program that we have in effect right now. The $56,000 contributed to the original request for the pool liner. So this here is acknowledgement of the amendments to do so.
Any questions from the council? Any questions from the public? Seeing none?
Okay. Item 17 is a resolution authorizing publication of notice of public hearing of an application to waive the off-street parking requirements for premise 301 West Park Avenue street floor for a convenience store. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held September 6th at 7 p.m. Item 18 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding administration. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held September 6th at 7 p.m. Item 19 is approval of minutes for prior meetings, June 21st and July 5th, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Voting, Councilmember Postoli?
Yes.
Councilmember Lester?
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo?
Yes.
Vice President Treston?
Yes.
President McGinnis?
Yes.
Okay. Items 20 and 21 have been added by unanimous consent. I have to find it first. Item 20 is a local law amending the charter of the City of Long Beach regarding the Zoning Board of Appeals. This item is for publication only. A hearing will be held on September 6th at 7 p.m. Item 21 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept a financial contribution to refurbish the city's ice arena.
Sorry, Dave.
Well, good evening again, and thank you for adding this to tonight's agenda. Finally, the much-anticipated Ranger Agreement. Discussion began back in late April with the New York Rangers about possibly renaming the facility at 150 West Bay Drive. Early negotiations included a discussion of basically what's in it for us in terms of why the city would be interested in doing so. Further discussion led us to asking them when the last time was that they actually were at the facility and were they aware of what the conditions of the building were that they were so anxious to put their name on. A meeting was put together, Donna, myself, Rich Barrios, Joe Fabrizio, Tom Canna, John McNally. We toured the facility in late May with members of representation from both the New York Rangers and from Jim Dolan and Madison Square Garden. And we all agreed that the facility was in dire need of some work, a facelift, and there was some issues that they thought they could be very helpful with. They didn't want to get involved with the work per se, but they were open to negotiations as far as what they could do in terms of financially to help us refurbish the building. With the mitigation project going on outside to take care of all of the structural issues that we've been faced with, we turned our efforts to the interior of the building, and Donna and I have had a final conversation where it wasn't even something that we were going to take any further if it didn't at least involve scoreboard and an interior paint job, something that would have a little bit of a wow factor, but also lend something to the interior getting some much-needed facelift work that had to be done. We sat down further and met with representatives again in June, and we narrowed the scope of work to include scoreboard repair or replacement, Zamboni repair and wrapping, locker room renovations, and an interior paint job. We got estimates for all of them and came up with this $45,000 ballpark figure. And in turn for that, we were asked to rename the facility after Emil Francis, who had passed away in last February. So I guess who is Emil Francis and why would we want to name the building after him? I'll answer the latter first. Emil Francis was the coach and general manager of the New York Rangers, or took over the lowly New York Rangers in 1964. He was virtually a one-man operation as their general manager, coach, and I later found out vice president by looking at the lease that he signed between the Rangers and the city of Long Beach in June of 1974 for use of what we now call the Ranger Room. One problem that Emil Francis identified after several years of coaching the Rangers was they wanted to, he felt it was necessary to get the team away from New York City and the bright lights. So his suggestion was to move the team to Long Island. That move was made to Long Beach, where many of them lived for several years. And obviously, he's the reason why Long Beach is now, or has always been, the home of the New York Rangers. It's a one-year contract, 1 year's, $45,000 to take on a building, to take on work in a building that's desperately needed.
And just one clarification, Joe said it right. It's only a one-year agreement. It's a sponsorship. It's not just to contrast it with something we've dealt with here before, right? There was the Carbona family Riverside agreement, and that was for a longer term for like pure naming rights of the facility.
So this isn't a
This is a sponsorship for 1 year.
For the year.
Correct.
Okay.
And I mean, I'd also like to add the discussion with the Rangers has been that after 1 year, and if you look in the agreement, there is the opportunity for further discussion to continue efforts. They've been a wonderful partner in terms of programming and support. After Hurricane Sandy, if many of you remember, they were instrumental in providing funding to get the necessary compressors and equipment to get the building back up and running. They did that. We've had a great relationship with them, and I only see it continuing with this agenda item.
Any questions from the council at this time?
Yeah, Joe, did you say we're renaming the arena?
Well, naming rights to the arena, yes.
So we're basically selling renaming rights.
For a 1 year period.
How do you rename an arena for 1 year?
Well, it's the terms of the agreement.
It's sort of like Jones Beach Theater does, where every few
That was
years
not
it
1
changes
year.
from Northwell to
Right,
somebody
right.
else. You know, they just, whenever the contract.
They got to the table first, you're right.
All right, I'm looking over this. I don't see I see the sponsorship. I don't see the renaming.
Or naming?
In terms of the signage, Commissioner Brand, can you elaborate more on the Emil Francis name and what we anticipate on receiving from the Rangers in terms of...
Right. Emil Francis Memorial Ice Arena. They would provide the artwork and decoration to use for the sign that would go on the front of the building and a sign for the interior of the building.
Do they pay for the sign separate, or?
No,
is
that it's going to come out of the
comes out
45.
45? Do we know what the sign costs?
No, we haven't.
I mean,
This
we're
is
not going
step
to eat
one.
up
We'll get into it.
40,000 of the 45 with a sign, are we?
No, not even close.
Okay.
That 45,000 is all spent, though, John. It delineates exactly
Well, he's saying
where...
it includes the
where it-
sign, though.
No, not according to this. It's interior paint job, updated scoreboard, and locker room improvements. That's it. And
It's not limited to that. I mean, we can spend, that money can be used to do with what we can get out of it.
Joe, why was this so sudden with them?
In terms of getting on the agenda,
I mean, we just...
Well, because of, the idea here is to get this work done right away before the season starts.
But it just was all negotiated today? Or
No. The negotiations started, I'd say, back in late May. It came to paper on, I believe it was July 19th or 20th. We made corrections to the agreement, sent it back, and it came back last week.
Also, the initial agreement was at least $20,000 less than what we have right here. I think it came in at $25,000. We talked about it and said, for $25,000, no. So Joe went back and talked to them, and now we got the $45,000 with 1 year.
Thank you, Joe.
So that's why it's on the agenda tonight, because everything was done between the last meeting and this meeting tonight.
Okay. We just got the agreement this evening. I mean, I don't think anybody's really had a chance to even read it. Okay.
Joe, does this, didn't we just get a new sign on the side of the building that someone else donated? Is this going to impact that new sign?
No, not at all. I spoke with them about that.
Okay, so we
Yep.
don't have to
No, I
replace
showed them
that.
that there was a previous council resolution authorizing that sign.
Yeah.
It went up today, by the way. It looks
Oh,
great.
did it?
Yep.
Okay.
But no,
No
it
more
won't.
Nathans?
It won't interfere at all. It was the first thing we said back.
Doesn't say Nathan's anymore?
No.
Darn.
Okay, any questions from the public on this item? Seeing none?
On my microphone. Back to item 4. This is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for the reconstruction of Doyle Street between East Chester and Pine Streets with the lowest responsible bidder. Who will introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a lease agreement to rent space on city-owned property to improve wireless service in the city. Introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing procedures for member video conferencing pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 103A. Introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of computers and printers for the city's police patrol vehicles from the sole source provider. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase an interoperable video management system and integrated surveillance system through New York State Office of General Service contracts for various locations throughout the city. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase an interoperable video management system and integrated surveillance system through New York State Office of General Service contracts for the bus station and Long Island Railroad parking facility. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 11 is a resolution authorizing payment for Thompson Reuters Westlaw Services. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 12 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Excuse me. Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 13 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 14 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 15 is a resolution authorizing a budget amendment and a transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 16 is a resolution authorizing a budget amendment for the Community Development Fund for the 44th program year. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 17 is a resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing of an application to waive off-street parking requirements for premise 301 West Park Avenue for a convenience store. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 18 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding administration. Introduce and move the adoption of this item.
This is for publication. Correct?
This is for publication only.
Doesn't matter.
Seeing no introduction, the item fails. Item 19 has been voted on. Hold on. Got my items mixed up here. Item 20 is a resolution authorizing publication for hearing of a local law amending the charter of the City of Long Beach regarding the Zoning Board of Appeals. Introduce and move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
And finally, item 21 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept a financial contribution to refurbish the city's ice arena. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
No, I have not had a chance really to get into this.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
City manager's monthly personnel report has been filed by the city clerk, who will make a motion to close the meeting.
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Apostoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Okay.
Dave's like, oh no, we're going to sit here.
Don't pick their head up and look us up.
With a special thank you to the audience for hanging in there. It's a long meeting.
I don't know.
Two.
I didn't write it down.
Okay, for good and welfare, Eileen Hessian.
Two quick things. Number one, my friend Liz Nachman, as all of you know, is a very good person, takes care of Long Beach. She cleans up the beach with a big black garbage bag at least 3 days a week. And when she was talking to me about it and showing me some of the pictures she had taken of the trash, especially underneath the walkover and the steps leading to the beach, I thought I would bring it up tonight to suggest that maybe the beachcombers who are down there every day go underneath and save her that trip. Because I know we have the rakes out there every day, so what the boys pick up, they can look there. My second item is the Hebrew Academy. I was told that it was cleaned up. It has not been cleaned up at all. There is still glass everywhere, broken windows, and the other day my neighbor told me that she called the police because there were teenagers on the roof. So this is an accident waiting to happen. I brought this up approximately 60 times here, I think. 70, 100. I hope that they are paying some kind of a fine for keeping this place so disgusting, and I think I'll probably have to FOIL to find that out, right?
Well,
Thank
I can
you.
ask that question. What are we doing about Hebrew Academy?
That's Scott.
The Commissioner for Buildings Department isn't here tonight. When you first talked to me about it, I did have him go over there. He issued fines. I was told that it was clean, and also like the walkovers for the beach, those also were cleaned last week. And we got calls today to say it's back dirty again. But as far as the Hebrew Academy, Commissioner Kimmons has been following up and issuing fines or citations.
I know,
for them.
because he's told me that. I hope that they're being paid.
I can check. I do know they can go to court. There is a process, but he has been on top of it.
But theoretically, that's a daily fine, isn't it? He can go back every day and fine them if they don't clean up. Is that being done? Do you know?
I would have to talk to the Commissioner.
Yeah.
To the
It's
Commissioner.
just, listen, I understand, and I've heard Ms. Hessian come up numerous times about it, and it does seem to be a danger, the way that it is right now.
It's an eyesore, but there's not even any fencing around it anymore. It's all been torn down. Not all of it, but much of it has been torn down. And seeing the kids on the roof, very bad situation. I mean, I can look at this ugly mess every day when I pass by it, but I worry about the teenagers, the kids who are doing it.
And
Okay.
theoretically, the city's on notice, which
Correct.
which really doesn't make me feel comfortable. And as far as the garbage under the walkways, I also saw the pictures. I saw the bags that not only Liz, but other people had collected. So, Donna,
So the bags and everything that they collected, we received an email last week, I think from Councilmember Bendo last week sent an email about the walkovers. The Beach Maintenance Department did in fact go out and clean the beach, the walkovers. What we have noticed, and we talked about it yesterday, is that they're going to have a basic routine to go out, because after they cleaned it up, then people go out there and do the exact same thing again. And so today it was really bad, but they did go out and clean last week when Councilmember Bendo either called me, texted me, or sent me something.
Email.
Yeah, emailed, and that was done.
I'm
So
kinda
that is
saying,
something,
you know-
that is something that the beach maintenance, as we talked about, is that they have to put it in their rotation to check on that.
We rake the beach every day. They can't go underneath there, but the boys can. The beachcombers that are out there every day, they could go underneath there and pick that up. That's what I think. That's my solution.
I'm sorry, while you're on it, have we put down the new mats yet? Extended them?
The Moby mat?
Yeah.
I don't think they've been
I
delivered
don't think
yet.
that, yeah.
I don't think they've been there. I haven't seen them, but I will check.
Tommy, did we get them? Oh, where's Tommy?
He's not here.
He was.
He was here. I'll find out and email everyone.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Crystal Lake?
Good evening again, Crystal Lake. Regarding the community benefit bonus versus a community benefit agreement. I'm just going to say this briefly. It should be an 80% AMI. Regarding to affordable workforce housing, when it pertains to off-site, please specify within the city of Long Beach, because off-site can be located anywhere. Transco gas pipeline. the capacity, with all of the additional potential density, I would keep that in mind. Okay. I'm just going to submit this.
Dave.
And
We
you
didn't
can,
think you saw it.
you can make copies for everyone. Thank you. I would like an update regarding the North Shore critical infrastructure, and I ask that because of the importance of the project. Sea level rise, global warming, climate change. Critical, critical. Preparedness is crucial. So I would ask of this council, I'm trying to rush because I only know I got 3 minutes, so please forgive me. You know, I would ask for ongoing updates until this project has started. It is of the utmost importance that we do not fall back into a situation where there's a 7-year delay. The project will take approximately 2 years to complete. Thirdly, I want everyone to know I am so tired of coming before City Council year after year after year discussing the same matters. Unfortunately, there's no continuity and no resolve. I'm retired. I want to enjoy my golden years, ladies and gentlemen, and I thank you for the greatness of this council and each and everyone's expertise. Hopefully, this will be the last time I'm going to submit this document. It's pertaining to gentrification. There's a dead card that references the city of Long Beach, urban renewal, section 5991, lots 32 and 33. North Park, R23, see change order 72497. Street closed, see block 277. East Harrison Street within the North Park. That's why I'm so intent on the affordability across the board for all. Just across the board for each and every individual. Because the prices of everything are astronomical. You know, we can dilly-dally, Section 8, or this one. You know what? The city of Long Beach got into this fiscal condition by the hands of a few, not all. Okay, and I'm saying that to say the residents of North Park, okay, don't clump a handful of individuals and stereotype the entire community. I think that is highly offensive and it's truly not fair. And I would also like to thank, and I also want the update for the critical infrastructure. I know Mr. Bernstein has left, but I would like to take this opportunity to thank him because if he had not written that article, that to me, that was the catalyst. So ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your time and your patience, but all of these components to me are very important. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lake. Just an update as requested. I think we're going to be providing regular ones. As you know, the 7-year gap has been just an uphill climb with the Long Island Railroad and finalizing that agreement. We met this morning, had a long conference and a page turn through the draft contract and draft agreement. We are nearly at the finish line. My sincere hope is that we'll have everything wrapped up and ready for a meeting in September to finalize that agreement. And I think we'll have a lot of green lights to start moving this project forward. We'll keep providing updates either at the city manager's report or during good and welfare.
Okay, thank you so much for the information.
Okay, for the Moby mats, the first delivery were 8. They have been using them, and they had them down for the Wounded Warriors.
For where?
The Wounded Warriors, Waterfront Warriors. They had 8 of them down at that time, but yes, they are.
The new ones.
That's what I'm saying. 8 have been delivered. They have been used. They're using those. And then the second delivery, they're still waiting for the second delivery of the 11.
We bought them after the Wounded Warriors.
Well, no, we had already ordered some before then. The bulk that you approved, those are the ones he's waiting on.
They didn't come. That's the answer.
They didn't
They're not
come.
here
Yeah,
yet.
no, but we did have some new ones that we
No,
did
I know
put in.
that.
Yeah.
You had 8
So the
and
bulk,
7, yeah.
yeah, the
But
bulk has, they're still waiting on them.
Yeah, all right.
The Wounded Warriors are for the special project.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
for-
No, I know. The
And
Wounded.
those have been delivered and they have been used.
Yes.
Also, according, the walkovers, they are starting to clean them now. and they will clean them for the rest of the week, and then they will clean them at the end of every weekend.
Is it primarily beer and stuff that's under?
Well, it was,
Yeah.
remember, it was urination was a problem too.
It's all the kids go drinking there at late at night.
Okay, well, I think that concludes the meeting, and we'd like to wish John McNally a happy birthday.
Happy birthday! Great way to spend it.
Okay, yeah. I just sent the council an email. Let me go get this food.